Hey folks, in this interview, I get to sit down with Subodh Shetty. We're going to be talking about his work as well as his interest in NFTs and how all that's going for him. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the brand new Light podcast. Today I'm speaking with Subodh Shetty. Like I said in that little intro there, he is a photographer that is based out in Dubai, the wonderful city of Dubai, and he's been making a name for himself recently in the NFT space. We're going to talk about that, how that's going for him, as well as his body of work, his motivations, and all that stuff. Subodh, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Frederick, for having me. And it's a great pleasure to be in the very first episode of this great initiative that you guys have been taking. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. And, just for the folks that are watching there's a couple of firsts going on here, right? So the first is this is the first episode of the Light podcast that we're recording here. So congratulations on being guest number one. The second first is this the first time that I've ever done an interview with an avatar like this. So this is really kind of cool,
right?
Yeah, it is really interesting. It's interesting. I'm excited to do this conversation. Though I can see you, as we were talking about in the green room, I can see you behind the scenes here, but the audience cannot see you. Let's start there. I want to talk about the whole, the world, kind of the sub-world of NFT and crypto and all that stuff. I want to dive into it from your perspective. But initially, tell us a little bit about who you are, as an artist and what your motivations are for the work that you're creating. And then we'll talk a little bit about the work.
Yeah, as an artist, I would call myself a storyteller. I don't see myself... I don't just call myself a photographer. I always call myself a storyteller because for me, images go alongside the story that you tell. And that's what I've been doing for the last maybe 10 years now since I've been shooting, more than 10 years actually. And, it all began with, at some point you start something, like you're not so sure about it and maybe you do it, maybe you quit it. Like learned guitar and then I gave up on it because I'm like, this is not for me. So similarly, there are certain things that come in your life at certain points as you grow. So photography was one of those, and I just got into it expecting to see how it goes. And fortunately for me, it really clicked, and what really got me into photography more and more into the depth of it is one, its association with travel, because I like to travel a lot. And two, the ability to tell a story. Why should stories be limited to books or movies? Here we have an ability to create our own art and tell our own story the way we see the world. And I think the marriage of these two things, travel and photography and the storytelling together made me who I am. And, I'm more into people photography. That's where I started creating portrait photography, exploring cultures, telling the hidden stories from the depths of various places. And then eventually you grow. And as you grow, your passion gets more and more into you. And, I was a full-time, I had a full-time job in Dubai and I used to work at the same time, manage photography, somehow keep a balance. But it comes to a point where you decide that I can't justify either of them if I keep doing this. So it's better to follow one path. And that's when I quit my job and took up photography full-time in 2017. And since then, I've been hosting photography workshops. That's what I do for a living. I teach photography to those people who are inspired by my work. And most of my clients are from the Middle East, whether it's UAE or surrounding countries, Oman and Kuwait and Qatar and etc. So the people do join me on my trips and we go out, we teach them photography, we come back, we create some exhibitions, and we also do some talks like we're doing right now, either on Zoom or in real life in some conference hall. So all those utilities come along with my photography. We even create books and etc. So yeah, my journey has been completely dedicated to one and only one thing, which is photography, and I follow it very, very passionately.
I love that. And, and that you've got it solved, right? Or mostly solved, because a lot of people go there myself included, right? We spend a lot of our lives sort of meandering around trying to figure out what that thing is that we're supposed to be doing that fulfills us. Some of us figure it out too late, right? And some of us figure it out very early. It sounds like you figured it out really early in terms of photography is where you want to be going with this. Photography and travel. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So that's the dream for a lot of photographers, right? Whether you're selling your work as NFTs or selling wall prints or whatever, is to do, I would argue, exactly what you're doing, to be able to travel, make a good living, doing the thing that you love, meeting new and exciting people, and creating art. Right. That's where you are. Right. And that's where you're going to be for the foreseeable future, doing that.
Yeah, I mean, doing this passion full time is not an easy thing to do, because anyone who's a full time photographer would know there comes a lot of sacrifices. You have to literally work your ass off to earn and make a living and stay in a place like Dubai. It's not easy at all. But I managed to do that quite well. But then once the COVID came in, I know it's tested each one of our life in different ways. And for people like us who depend on travel photography to create some income for our living, that came to a absolute like halt. Like there's nothing else you could do. For those 2020 and 2021 was absolutely disastrous for people like us who depend on travel photography to survive. And when you can't travel, you're stuck in a country. What do you do? So yeah, I think that's where NFT comes in as a blessing. It opens up a whole new door, an opportunity to explore. And the beautiful thing is, we've been creating and we'll keep creating with or without any of these associations, whether it's NFT or not. But what NFT does is, we created for all these years and we waited for that one opportunity where our work could be valued, could be seen, could be collected in NFT terms, collected. Otherwise, you can call it purchased. So I think that's what NFT is bringing in. For people like us, we created a body of work which is now finally being accepted by the world of NFT, and it gives us a whole new way of surviving as a full-time artist and following our passion.
Yeah. Do you feel like that NFT side of it, or being able to monetize your work in that way, what percentage do you feel like that's going to become of your overall work? Because you mentioned you're doing workshops and you're trailing off the day job, to do more of the stuff that you love doing. Income wise at the end of the year, where do you see, like, the end of 22, where do you see NFTs being the end of this year, and maybe where would you like it to be, say, at the end of 23 or 24?
I couldn't hear the first part of your question. You could shortly repeat it again, please.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I was saying, your what percentage of your work right now do you think is attributable, sales wise or income wise, to NFTs today in 2020? Say at the end of 22, and then where do you hope it will be percentage wise at the end of 23, 24?
Yeah, I think not only for me, but for everyone, I think you need to keep that balance. One thing that COVID has really taught us a lesson is about not to depend on anything singularly. That's what I did. I depended on travel. All the commercial work that came to me, I ignored them. I said, I am not doing that. I'm only doing travel photography. And then the world stopped. And then you think, shit, I should have balanced both. And I think it holds the same thing for NFT. Whatever that you earn, it's great. It's fantastic, actually. But it doesn't mean that you just leave everything else and focus on only this thing, because that's the learning. Keep a balance. In my case, I do workshops for a survival, and I'll continue to do workshops for a survival. Last month, I went to Kenya, Masai Mara, with a bunch of people, and we had great fun. And that's always been my source of income, and I continue to hold that true. And next month, I'll be going to another place, and it continues. So I'm not going to cut off that other side. I'm going to keep that income source coming in now that the world is opening, travel is on. So I want to make sure that all those 2 years of, a hunger to travel, not only for me, but for everyone, is utilized in a good way as we move forward. At the same time, NFT will be that cushion which can help me in case the world goes to another kind of a lockdown or whatever it could be, whatever the life throws. At that point, NFT can be my cushion.
Yeah, isn't that good though? I mean, if there's one silver lining in this whole pandemic COVID insanity, it has been It has shown people that are reliant on travel and things that are impacted by these types of things that they can survive and how to survive and get through this. Whereas before it was, oh crap, you know, the world is shutting down. What I'm going to do the next time this happens, it's not going to be as scary, right? Because you know what you need to do in order to survive, and you know survival is possible, you know, and surviving and thriving is possible. So yeah, that's a silver lining that came out of that. You know, Subodh, I want to talk a little bit about your work here. You know, I'm going to pull up your Instagram, and we're looking at your Instagram profile here. You know, of course, the first thing that strikes me as someone who loves photography, both from a consumer and a creator standpoint, is, you know, obviously you're you know, both figuratively and literally driving into the emotions and the faces of these people, right? You're telling their story in a single frame. Can you tell us what was going on in your mind when you shot these photos? And folks, for the people that are listening to the audio version of this podcast, I'm cognizant of that, you know, and we're talking about visual things. So be sure to head over to watch the video on the Light site to see some of these images, or just go to Subodh's Instagram profile, and we'll link to all that. But yeah, take us into these shots. About what were you thinking when you created these?
Yeah, when it comes to people, you know, photography, when it comes to portraits that I create on my travel, you know, you meet a lot of people, you know, when you travel, especially to countries on the Asiatic side, you know, like whether India or Nepal or wherever you go, you see a lot of people. It doesn't mean everyone holds that charm, you know, to create that portrait. I'm not saying anyone looks good or bad. That's a different story. But when you're trying to tell a story out of their face, you need to be very, very cautious about who you're choosing. And my intention is always to make sure that I find that particular person who can tell a bigger picture when I post it across on social medias. And usually it's not just like I find them and I take a picture, but I spend a lot of time before even taking the very first picture. You know, I talk to them, I crack jokes and whatever it takes to break that ice, make them comfortable. And once all that is done, and sometimes it takes 10 minutes, sometimes it takes 1 hour, sometimes it takes 2 days to convince a person for an image. It depends on the scene where you are. So I take my time out to understand them a little bit better, and they understand me a little bit better. They feel comfortable in my presence. Because the reason I do that is because, one, I need to tell a story, and to do that, you need to make sure that you get that connection between you and them. At the same time, I need to control a lot of things, whether it's the light, it's the background, it's about how they pose in the image and more. So all those things require a kind of a comfort zone between me and them. So I also shoot only natural light. I don't use any flash. I don't use any reflectors. So all I have is that natural light. And to control that, I need to have a bonding with them. So my portraits are mostly about interaction more than the picture itself.
I love that. I love that. And I'm just as you were talking, I'm scrolling through some of the images. These are fantastic. And you mentioned in one of the pieces, I think I was looking at your account on OpenSea, but you have a portrait of humanity collection up there. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what was the impetus of the portrait of humanity collection?
Yeah, when I came, first of all, one thing that needs to be clear is that I do all kinds of photography. I do drone, I do astro, I do deep space, I do portraits, I do landscape, because that's what feeds my passion. People want to learn all these things when they travel, and then I can't say, no, I only teach for portrait and I keep everyone aside. So I need to cater to everyone, and that's the reason I keep experimenting with all genres of photography. So I have a body of work which caters everything. So when I came into NFT, my first collection was meant to be the best I can, put out, because the first impression is the best impression, and I'm entering a place where no one knows me. So I need to create that impression. And I was thinking a lot as to what do I go for as my first collection. And the answer finally came with Portrait of Humanity. And the reason why it is so important and so special is because when I began my travel photography, the very first place I went with the professional camera, the intention of creating images was to this very particular place where this collection comes from, which is a place in India called Ladakh. It's a Himalayan village in a corner of India. So I created those images, these images are created over years. It's not like one sitting, but that particular place holds a very, very special place in my heart. I've been there more than 30 times. I know most of these people by name. They know me by name. It's more of that kind of a connection. So I thought, okay, let me start with those people who really mean so much to me in my life, and I have a similar impact on their life. And also, one more thing I did was every image that I sold, even if it's for zero point 0.2 Ethereum, I made sure that 25% of each of that share goes back to them. I'm visiting them next week. So every single face that you see in that collection, all the 9 people will be getting 25% of the share of their image. Yeah, so all these things make it really, really special to have this portrait of humanity. It's something that comes from the heart, very much from the depth of my heart.
And that is so great. One of the things I'm looking at that got me on this page was this sentence right here, and I'll read it for the podcast listeners. You have on Portrait of Humanity: my life, focus, devotion, religion, priority, and every breathing moment has since been photography. And this is after you began with your first visit to the Himalayas 10 years ago. So that's a poignant statement. So you're not this doesn't. This doesn't sound like someone who's a hobbyist, right? Who's like, yeah, let me just try this, and then maybe next week I'm gonna, move over to playing video games as my hobby, and then maybe the week after I'm gonna take up cars or something. You've internalized photography as part of the essence of who it is to be Subodh, right? So, how is that, right? And I don't know that very many people can make that claim of being having an art form so ingrained with the definition of themselves. So and it sounds like you're doing that and you're living that. How is that on a day-to-day basis? Are you, I guess to put a finer point on it, are you the type of photographer that is romanced by the latest gear that's coming out, or is it more of, I have this map on the wall of the world and I need a pin in all these different locations of where I need to go before I feel fulfilled? How does that play out on a daily basis for you?
Yeah, I have a tattoo on my hand which you can't see right now, but it says religion photography, and I got it maybe 7 years back. And when I got the tattoo, I asked myself the question, are you sure that you want a tattoo called religion photography? Are you sure you're going to follow it that way? But I'm glad that, I have to keep, filling the ink again and again on that particular tattoo to make sure that it always looks good, because that's been my way. Only thing that I do in my life today is photography. I eat, sleep, and drink photography, literally. So, yeah, the impact has been huge. As I said, it comes with a lot of, when you say such things, it comes with a lot of sacrifices which comes along with it, which I won't be mentioning right now. But, when I came to NFT and my image sold, the very first image sold for the first time, I have no shame in saying this, but my eyes were full of tears, because this was the first time in my life that someone was paying those thousands of dollars for an image of mine, like it's never happened before, and those tears were nothing but, kind of a validation to my madness, which I have. So yeah, it really makes it very, very special to be finally able to be valued as a photographer, because in real life, if you talk of my photography before NFT, I've been doing it for so long. We always put it up in Instagram or wherever that, okay, this print is available for purchase, but no one gives a damn. You are just another photographer in the pool of ocean of photographers, and taken over by influencers and whatnot. It was going in a different direction. And then finally, a place like NFT came in where work is seen and valued like never before. And I see it as a great blessing for photographers. So yeah, the reason I spend so much of time in NFT right now, I spend way too much time in NFTs, talking to people, doing spaces, helping each other out, and etc., is only because I want to celebrate this great opportunity which is in front of us for the first time. And I don't want to miss a moment of it, till it lasts. I don't know, it may change. Instagram will come in with their NFTs and etc. That's a different story which is happening as we move forward. But right now, it's a totally new and fresh place to be in, and a place to be, without miss. Because what's happening right now is the most pleasant time of NFT, I would say.
I love it. Yeah. And part of the lesson from that is to get in now and learn it. As I talk about NFTs a fair amount in public speaking, and more from a futurist. Where are we now from a high level, and where can things possibly go with NFTs and the blockchain and crypto and all that? And the audiences I speak to, like the last one I did was at this conference in Las Vegas called NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters. It's a yearly thing, big conference, and I did a bunch of talks there on NFTs and the future of the metaverse and crypto and all this. And the audience always seems to be, what's the best phrase for it? They seem cautiously optimistic about the future of NFTs, and the caution is keeping them on the fence, right? And I think it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy where you're not getting in, or you're not investing in the space, and then now something happens like this recent shakeup we had, and the numbers go down, and now you feel validated that you didn't jump in, but then the numbers go back up and you feel bad about yourself that you didn't jump in, but you feel like you missed an opportunity, so I'm not going to jump in anyway because it's too late now, right? So the people that just jump in and get in the water and start acclimating to the water are the ones like yourselves that I believe are winning. And I don't even think it's not necessarily a monetary win, right? It's more of you are understanding the future, at least, where it stands right now in 2022. Maybe, like you said, NFTs may be different in 23, 24 as they become more legitimate in the eyes of bigger players. But right now, you're like the settlers, right? You're people that are figuring it out, and the first people to climb the Himalayas, right? You're
That's
in
a
that.
good way to put it.
Yeah, you're in that group of people. Some won't make it. Right? Just like the Himalayas, a lot of people are not going to make it, but some will, and they'll live to tell the story, and we'll learn from what they had to do and the trials and tribulations that those people had to do to climb that geography. And the people that are behind them will learn from that and hopefully do better, and on and on and on. One thing you said, Subodh, was, and I think I don't even know if you realize you said this, but you said NFTs, or selling an NFT, was kind of like validating your insanity, right? It's like validating your insanity. That's a t-shirt. That should be a t-shirt that says NFTs, validating the insanity. And I think that's important because it's poignant on a number of directions. One of them is the people that are not bullish on NFT or crypto, right? They think it's insane that what is this? You're tying value to something that doesn't exist. It's easily copied. All these different straw man arguments that we hear about NFTs, which makes it seem insane for people to get into. But once you embrace that insanity and jump in and then start understanding what the real potential is, I think you will end up close to a place where you are in terms of understanding the overall potential. So with that, I'd love to have you tell me, speak to the folks that are listening and watching this, and they're like, what, I really want to get into this NFT stuff. People like Subodh are in there, and they've been doing it forever. They've sold things. They're veterans. There's no way I could do that. It's too late for me. Maybe I'll just watch the news and set up a Google alert when something NFT happens. I'll stay informed, but I'm not ready to jump in yet. What advice would you give that person? Say it's a person at your workshop, one of your workshops, that wants to get into this space, but is paralyzed with fear. What should they do?
I think, first of all, you said a word veteran, which is totally doesn't apply to me at all, because you'll be surprised to know I am 120 days old in NFT. 121 days before now, I was the same guy. NFTs are this, NFTs are that. But then
Wow.
you finally get in and you realize, oh my goodness, what I was doing. All that, the time I wasted by seeing NFTs are this and that was absolutely it really got me much more delayed getting into this journey, because from outside it may all look weird, and like my PFP, which is the picture on the screen which you see, you'll if I tell anyone outside who's not into NFT that I paid certain amount of dollars for this particular image, they would think I have gone crazy. But at the same time, once you get into this, you realize it's a totally different game. You need to understand the pulse of this place, and you'll get to know that it actually pays your bills. As a full-time photographer, that matters to us a lot. Okay, long term, there are many, many more things, of course, but today what I need to do is pay my bills. As a photographer, uh, I need to make myself survive in this weird times of pandemic, and that's where NFTs come in. If nothing else, just for that, if you want to survive, if you want to follow your passion as a full-time photographer, this is the place to be. And I would call it a validation, because for the first time, as I said, you have been paid in a way that it never happened before. If you think of it, Ethereum was $3,200, or wherever that it was at that point when I used to sell. For one Ethereum, each picture. It never happened in real life where people say, I'll buy your image because it's great and I'm going to pay you $3,000 for this. No, it was all about bargaining outside. How less can you give it for, or maybe you can give it for free. We'll give you some exposure. But NFT is not about that. NFT is a place where you're valued like never before, and it only gets better from here. And you're never too late. I came 120 days before, and I have made my own path, and you can also carve your own path. It's never too late. It's if your work is good, and if you are present, NFT is here to reward you.
Yeah, that's so great. Some of the humps that I think people have to jump over to start understanding this world. And I've been interested in learning about NFTs and dabbling in NFTs, for probably about the same amount of time you have. But when I look at it from a, quote, journalist or podcaster or reporter type perspective, I see the barriers to entry and the scary pieces of it. Like, for example, people are used to Facebook groups, and then Facebook is kind of falling out of favor, and then it's Instagram. Everybody has to be on Instagram, and that's where, all the work is, et cetera. And then this new thing, once you start dabbling in NFTs, this quote new thing, it's not new, but Discord, right? Most of the conversations are happening on Discord, and that's where all the dialogue is. And, people that are, let's say there's an older person that's just like, what, I just figured out this Instagram thing, and now you're telling me you got to learn this whole other thing. That's where the party is now, So what do you tell those people? Like, if you want to toe in the water and you want to start playing in this, maybe you want to be a spectator, to start kind of, I don't want to play Call of Duty with 13-year-olds yet, but I think I'll watch for a couple of days. What's the best way for people to start getting to where you are? Like, where did you start 120 days ago? And then what was the next step after that? Then the next step after that?
Yeah, I started 120 days ago with 0 followers on Twitter. That's where I started, not on Discord at all, because I didn't even know what Discord is at that point. I came into Twitter with 0 followers, and I just knew one person in Twitter who got me into NFT, my friend. That's about it. I had 1 follower after I joined in, which was my friend. And then you start exploring. It's a whole new place. You should be rather very, very excited. It's like going to a new place on a travel photography tour. And when you fly a drone, you feel so excited that you're flying a drone in a whole new country, and you're going to find so many wonderful things that you can see and capture. It's the same feeling. Make friends, make connections, meet new people, because in Instagram, we are all in our own circles and roaming round and round and round every single day. But here you have a whole world of opportunities. You not only meet photographers, you meet digital artists, you meet all kinds of people from all walks of life. And, just be open to explore. Don't come with that closed brain. You have to be open to explore, and, just be out there and explore and explore and explore, and people will start following back, and you start building the connections, you attend spaces, you talk to people. So things start moving very, very rapidly. Twitter is a totally different ball game. It's not like Instagram or Facebook. It's a totally different organism altogether. And once you get the flow of it, once you start doing all these basics for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, and then you can slowly start jumping into Discords. There are wonderful Discord channels. Like one of my first Discords was Meta Jungle, which does amazing work for the community in helping us, empower us, to do better in NFT journey, because we are all confused when we start minting our work. We make some mistakes. We don't know what to price. We don't know what is the size of the collection. You don't know how to curate your collection. So all those answers comes from Discord. Eventually we'll end up in one of those channels. And once you get used to it, it's not too complicated. It's just made to look like a weird organism, but it's actually a very organized place to be. It's all about tabs and being in the right tab and talking to right people. So yes, you get used to it. When there is an opportunity to learn it slow, but do learn it. Otherwise you'd be simply missing out on all these wonderful things.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you on the Discord. Discord is not that complicated of an app/service to use, but one of the challenges with Discord, I think, is just the sheer number of Discords out there, and where to start and where not to go, right? Because there's places that you can go and then get completely turned off to the whole space of NFTs and crypto, and then the other side of it. Where are some of the Discords that you hang out in?
Very, very honestly, I'm maybe on 20 or 25 channels in Discord, various different channels, but only channel I use, only place I go to is MetaJungle, and that's about it. MetaJungle NFT is a great place with wonderful photographers, and I do workshops for MetaJungle whenever they have an opportunity. I do their AMA sessions where you do all this critique of the collections and you tell how collections can be improved and etc. So you go in as a stranger, but you are accepted so well, and you're made to be part of the family because everyone is there to help. No one is there with any ill intentions, and you build up your connections there, and you start contributing in whichever way possible. So honestly, I only Discord channel that I use, apart from the one which is coming up from Light, is MetaJungle. Yeah, because I call it the university to learn how to navigate this place. I call them the GPS coordinates of NFT.
Oh, excellent. That's what I wanted to hear. So I'm joining them right after this. So tell me about your involvement with Light and what got you excited to kind of, attach your horses to that, to that carriage. What do you think, what are you hoping to get out of that relationship, and what made you join up with those guys?
I think it's one simplest way to put it is Eli Lacardi. Like I know him for a while now. Any photographer in this field would know him for a while. So yeah, we did meet up when Eli talked about this. We said, okay, we'll catch up in Dubai, and he came for a big photography event which happens in Dubai. It's called Exposure International Photography Festival. So we met there, we hung, we walked around the whole exhibition, and only thing we talked about was this project. And more I understood the intentions behind it and how they want to take it forward. It was very, very well planned, and they have a proper, vision to the way forward. So, and with Elia around, I trust him. That's all it is. Yeah. When he's around, I'm okay to be there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I agree. I've known Elia for maybe not as long as you. I've known him for a couple of years now, and yeah, one of the quality humans on earth, and very, very down to earth. We have some of the greatest conversations, like I'm sure you guys have as well. And he is actually, we're doing a Twitter Spaces series. We did the first one yesterday, Tuesday, as we record this. Yeah, and we're doing another one this Thursday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. U.S. Pacific time. So, and this will be a weekly recurring thing as Light kind of rolls forward for release and all that. So, yeah, should be really interesting.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea there was one yesterday. I would have been there.
Oh yeah, well they're coming. That was the first one, so I'm glad you weren't there because that was the first Twitter Space that I've ever hosted in life, right? So I'm learning the ropes of the Twitter Spaces.
Yeah. That's what I do day in and day out. Spaces, I love Spaces. It's a great place to catch up with people and help each other out and push the work out and sell the work out and etc. etc. So I've been spending a lot of time on Twitter Spaces. Yeah, I do love it.
I love that. Well, let's wrap up here. This is a great conversation. I feel like we have to do this again, and now that we had to figure it, just inside baseball, people that are listening to this, we had to spend a couple of minutes figuring out how to just have an avatar on the screen versus having the video of the artists on the screen. And which, it didn't take that long, just a couple minutes to get it sorted so that I could switch cameras and have the avatar show up versus video. But it was, even that thing for me was exciting, right? To have this kind of conversation and maintain the kind of anonymity of the artist for reasons, right? And we'll talk about that just for a second here, Subodh. Like the anonymity piece of it, for whatever reasons, adds an air of mystery to the artist on the back end that's creating this stuff. And for me, it kind of like is a tiptoe or a baby step into that whole metaverse world where I may only interact with you through an avatar, through our entire relationship. And this is the way that I see you, right? And this is just really interesting to me. So give us your, kind of basic motivations for using the avatar. Is it, to add just sort of the air of mystery to your work in kind of, or maybe it's a branding thing and most people know you by the avatar already, so you want to maintain the avatar? What's the motivation behind it?
I paid a lot of money for that avatar.
That's the reason. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This thing was expensive. I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Maybe this will pump up the project and the project goes to the moon and then I can flip this avatar and make some money out of it. I'm just kidding. The whole reason behind me trying to shield myself is it's just me, like I always say that I am not a person, even not NFT, forget that. Even 10 years I've been doing this photography. Even if you go to my Instagram, you'll never see me. If you go to my Facebook, you'll never see me as a person, because I don't want my photography to do anything with how I look or what I do. I mean, it shouldn't be about me at all. It's all about my work, and people should just keep recognizing my work rather than recognizing me. Even there are people who come and meet me in Dubai who, they know me for years and years together because they hear about me here and there, but they never met me. So when they meet me for the first time, even they get surprised that, oh, you are Subodh. Okay, we never knew that it was you. So, I just like to keep that me away from everything. I just want my work to do the talking. And of course, I will use my voice. I got the voice, I got the words to write. I will use all those, elements to push my photography forward rather than putting myself or my selfies or, I'm just not that guy. I always like to stay behind the scene. It's just me. It's just in the character. It's in the DNA, I think.
It's refreshing, right? In the world of selfies and, hey, look at me, and angles and filters and all that, it's refreshing that you're just not that. It's just, hey, it's all about the work. And I think that's admirable, right? It's don't look at me, look at my work.
Yeah. There's also that introvert behind all this, like it's not like people may think of me as an extrovert because I approach people, make their amazing portraits. I'm on Twitter spaces all the time. I may look like a very extrovert person, but actually I am an introvert in my own way. And I like to shield myself that way. Even now you're looking at me as we speak. I'm wearing a cap, I'm wearing a jacket because that's my way of just staying within myself. And even when the mask came up, I hated COVID, but I loved the mask, because I could one more layer to hide behind something, So it's that introvert part of me, which I can't just say that I'm going to change myself for whatever reasons, I'm never going to change myself for anything, that's me and that's my character. And I just want to continue the way I am, my work will do the talking, my voice will be the voice, my words, but I don't want that face to come in between and, change things up. When I meet people in real life, I'm more than happy to catch up with them, sit together, whatever, have dinner, lunch, whatever it is. But I don't want myself to be involved with social media. I just like to keep myself away as far as my own, identity goes.
I love it. It's a really good strategy. Too late for me, but it's really, a really good strategy. As we wrap this up, Subodh, what are some final thoughts or some parting thoughts you'd like to throw out there? And I'll put a finer point on it. Some advice that you would give to photographers that, let's say they have a body of work, they know about this NFT thing, they want to jump in, not sure what to do today in order to start. And then part two of the question is from a collector perspective. I'm a collector. I feel like this is a good place to put some money. Where should I start? I'm afraid. I've heard a lot of rumors about this and that, but I want to jump in. Where should I start? So advice for the new photographer, advice for the new collector. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely speak on behalf of photographers, but on behalf of collectors, I would not be really the right person. Though I have I came in as a photographer, but today I hold almost 60 pieces which I've collected in the last 120 days of my NFT journey. So I've been collecting
Wow.
as well, but I still won't call myself a collector as such, because collectors are totally a different ball game. They have a different set of ideas, and they're way more into this crypto than we ever could know. So, but for photographers, is all I can say is, if you're skeptical, stop being that. If you're being negative about NFTs, stop being that. Just come in, take a chance, and get your work seen and collected, and make some income out of your passion. You need income to move on in this passion, and there is one opportunity here which can help you feed that urge in you. Take your passion to the next level. Because I know, just for a rough example, I know so many photographers who want to go to Iceland because they want to create those amazing landscape images. They create landscape images in Himalayas, maybe in Dubai, but they've never been able to go to Iceland because it's too expensive for their, for what they earn. And this is your opportunity. Fulfill your dream. Come here, take a chance, make yourself be known and seen, and sell your images, follow your passion, go and do those Iceland images which you always wanted. It's that kind of a thing. This is a enabler. NFT is nothing but an enabler to fulfill your dreams in various different ways. And also, like you rightly said, we are all those Himalayan explorers getting into an unknown zone and trying to make a path to reach the top. And some of us will make halfway, some of us will go a long way. Just because it's a hard journey, it's Himalayas, you have to bear the cold, you have to do all those hard work, stay in a tent and etc. It doesn't mean that you're not gonna get rewards. Reward is always waiting. But just because of that fear, if you don't even explore, then what's the point? I would say, please come. It's a nice place, wonderful community. People are, I've never seen more supportive people in my life as a photographer. The most amazing community. I always say the 2% of the world's community is in right now in NFT, in Twitter, and etc. And that's the best 2% that is there. So you'll be helped, you'll be handheld and pulled up. No one is here to pull you down. I can promise you that.
Love it. All right. Subodh, we'll leave it right there. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being the first interview on the Light Podcast. I think that's what we're going to name this thing, the Light Podcast or the Light Artists Podcast. We haven't settled on the name exact yet. But yeah, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. And please do, whenever you see our name pop up for one of these shows on Twitter Spaces, join in. I'd love to have you come in and pop up on stage and share your thoughts.
No, I mean, the problem with Twitter nowadays is, on the top, usually it shows the spaces which are happening. But nowadays it's not showing that, it completely disappears. The spaces on top, which used to pop up, is now, Twitter has some bug and it doesn't show up. So we end up missing a lot of spaces. But if you are the host, I will follow you in Twitter and I'll keep your notification on.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate
Then I won't
that.
miss it.
You won't miss it. You won't miss it. Yes, I will be the host, Frederick Van. Okay. All right. We'll leave it right there. Subodh, thank you for coming on. Thanks for coming on. I know it's got to be, you're in Dubai right now, so I'm guessing is what, close to midnight over there right now?
11:15. I mean, that's way too early for me anyway. I sleep at 3.
Oh, good. You're just getting started. It's the beginning of your day. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, sir.